On a quiet London morning in 1999, TV presenter Jill Dando stepped outside her home, unaware her next few minutes would become one of Britain's most baffling crimes. The country adored her, the world trusted her, and yet, someone waited, someone watched, and someone acted with chilling precision. The shock of her death shattered the nation. Streets flooded with reporters, investigators scrambled for answers, and millions demanded justice. But as detectives dug deeper, they uncovered a chain of clues so contradictory, so disturbing, that even seasoned investigators questioned everything. And this was only the beginning.
From the first moment, nothing about the scene made sense. I heard a sound, but not enough to know what really happened.
Minutes before the attack, Jill Dando walked toward her Fulham home after leaving her fiancé's house. CCTV captured her smiling, calm, unaware of danger. She moved with peaceful confidence, no signs of fear, no unusual glance behind. To her, it was just another normal day in London.
The timing was almost impossibly precise, friend intervened and said, Jill never mentioned anyone troubling her.
But investigators soon realized someone had studied her movements closely. The timing, the location, the isolation. It was too perfect to be chance. Whoever struck knew exactly when Jill would walk through that gate. It raised one terrifying question. Was she being followed long before the final moment? At 11:32 a.m., a neighbor discovered Jill Dando lying motionless on her doorstep. Panic swept through the street as emergency services rushed in. The scene was strangely quiet. No signs of struggle, no witnesses, no clear explanation. Just one devastating truth. Britain's beloved presenter had been executed. The single gunshot wound suggested a targeted professional attack. Police quickly sealed the area, baffled by the killer's precision and calm escape. If this was random, why was nothing stolen? Why so clean? Everything pointed to planning, yet no one saw anything. The silence around her death became deafening.
Believe it, Jill on? This was the nation's biggest crime in decades.
News of Jill Dando's death triggered one of the largest media frenzies in UK history. Networks interrupted programming, headlines flashed nationwide, and millions mourned instantly. She wasn't just a presenter, she was a household name. The story spread with unmatched intensity, pushing investigators to deliver answers quickly. The pressure mounted rapidly. Every detail leaked to the public was dissected, televised, debated. Journalists set up outside the crime scene, broadcasting grief and speculation. But beneath the noise, investigators struggled. The story was global, but the evidence was nearly invisible. And the mystery grew more troubling by the hour. Jill Dando's rise was remarkable. From a small-town girl in Weston-super-Mare, she became one of Britain's most trusted broadcasters. Her warm presence, investigative courage, and humanitarian spirit made her a national icon. She hosted Crimewatch, helping families find justice, ironically becoming the victim of a crime herself. Her colleagues described her as grounded, empathetic, and deeply committed to truthful journalism. She avoided conflict, had no known enemies, and lived a life far from controversy. which only deepened the mystery. How could someone with such a peaceful life become the target of such a calculated killing? Forensic teams combed Jill's doorstep for clues. Blood spatter patterns, bullet fragments, footprints. But the scene offered almost nothing. No weapon, no fibers, no fingerprints. The attack was swift and precise. The assassin left behind only silence, an unsettling hallmark often associated with professional contract killings. Experts examined the wound and concluded it resembled a close-contact, execution-style shot. The angle, the depth, and the weapon used all pointed to expertise. Detectives feared they were up against someone trained, but the biggest question remained: who would order a hit on Jill Dando, and why? Investigators turned to the last person who saw Jill alive, her fiancé, Alan Farthing. He described their final morning as ordinary and peaceful. They made plans, exchanged smiles, and separated briefly before meeting again later. Nothing in Jill's behavior suggested fear or danger. She felt completely safe.
She was relaxed. Nothing felt wrong.
Farthing's calm and consistent statements helped detectives narrow the timeline, but also raised new questions. If Jill sensed nothing unusual, the attack must have been fast and unexpected. Farthing denied any threats or conflicts in her life. His account highlighted the killer's chilling ability to strike unnoticed. Police canvassed the neighborhood, speaking to residents who might have seen or heard anything. A few reported a strange man lingering earlier. Others mentioned a quick, muffled sound, not loud enough to be a typical gunshot. The details conflicted, leaving investigators struggling to build a clear picture.
A neighbor said, "I thought it was just a car door slamming. He walked away so calmly, almost rehearsed."
Witnesses couldn't agree on the suspect's appearance. Some saw a tall man, others described someone smaller, moving quickly down the street. The inconsistencies were frustrating. If the killer blended this well into ordinary life, detectives feared they were dealing with someone meticulously prepared and emotionally detached. The United Kingdom fell into collective grief. Flowers covered BBC headquarters and Jill's home street. Viewers who had grown up watching her cried openly. She bridged generations, cultures, and classes. Her death didn't feel like the loss of a celebrity. It felt like the loss of someone familiar.
She felt like part of our family. The national mourning was unprecedented. We really lose an iconic person.
As tributes poured in, public frustration intensified. People demanded answers. They questioned police methods, political motives, and media theories. Every hour that passed without a suspect amplified the tension. It wasn't just grief, it was fear. If Jill Dando could be attacked, could anyone be next? Early theories suggested Jill may have been targeted for her work on Crimewatch. She exposed criminals, assisted investigations, and brought dangerous cases into public spotlight. Some speculated a vengeful offender or organized gang might have sought retaliation. The idea ignited widespread debate among investigators and the media.
Revenge seemed plausible, but unproven. we could not rule anything out.
However, no concrete link emerged. None of the criminals featured on Crimewatch showed connections to the murder. Still, the possibility of revenge remained compelling. If the killer wanted to send a message, choosing someone as publicly trusted as Jill Dando would have created maximum impact and fear. Investigators soon explored another possibility. Jill Dando's charity appeals and public work had pressured dangerous international groups. Some speculated a Balkan criminal network might have ordered her murder in retaliation for her outspoken humanitarian broadcasts. The theory spread quickly, fueled by geopolitical tensions and previous threats across Europe.
The Balkan angle couldn't be ignored initially, but nothing connected Jill directly to any group.
Yet when detectives analyzed travel records, intelligence reports, and foreign criminal activity, the evidence fell short. The idea was compelling, but no direct link to Jill Dando surfaced. Still, the theory showed how far her influence reached, and how investigators were forced to consider scenarios beyond the UK. Another disturbing theory emerged. Jill Dando may have been targeted by an obsessive stalker. With her fame, she received letters, unwanted attention, and constant public visibility. Police reviewed fan mail, threats, and suspicious communications, searching for someone who crossed the line from admiration into dangerous fixation.
Real stalkers leave breadcrumbs. This killer didn't. The silence around him was abnormal.
Despite extensive investigation, most individuals were harmless admirers. No stalker displayed the planning, precision, or knowledge required for such an attack. Still, detectives kept this theory alive, knowing that obsession can escalate unpredictably. But again, no one matched the profile of a trained silent killer waiting outside Jill Dando's home. In 2000, police arrested Barry George, a local man with a troubled history and reputation for erratic behavior. He lived close to Jill Dando's home, had a record of stalking women, and appeared suspicious during surveillance.
The evidence pointed toward George at first, but the case was far from airsight.
Investigators believed they finally had their suspect. Prosecutors built their case on circumstantial evidence. George's past, his proximity, and a single microscopic particle said to match gun residue. The public felt relieved. Someone was in custody. But beneath the surface, experts questioned the reliability of the evidence and George's ability to execute such a professional attack. In 2001, Barry George stood trial for Jill Dando's murder. The courtroom buzzed with media, families, investigators, and legal experts. Prosecutors argued he acted alone, driven by obsession. The single particle of alleged gun residue became the centerpiece of the case, steering the jury's perception.
The conviction shocked many experts. Gun residue that small is unreliable.
Despite the weak forensic evidence, George was convicted and sentenced to life. Many celebrated the verdict, believing justice had been served. But others, scientists, journalists, and human rights advocates, raised concerns. How could such a precise execution-style killing be carried out by someone with cognitive and behavioral limitations? As months passed, journalists and investigators uncovered major inconsistencies in the case. Forensic experts questioned the residue sample. Witnesses doubted George's ability to execute a silent, professional attack. The media began revisiting abandoned theories, and pressure mounted on authorities to reevaluate the conviction.
Something didn't add up at all. This conviction needed re-examination.
The appeal process intensified. New scientific reviews suggested the gun particle might not even be gun residue. It could have come from environmental contamination in the lab. This revelation changed everything, forcing courts to rethink whether an innocent man had been imprisoned while Jill Dando's real killer remained free. In 2008, after years of scrutiny, Barry George's conviction was overturned. The Court of Appeal ruled the forensic evidence unreliable and the case insufficient. George was released after 8 years in prison. The decision reignited public anger and reopened the terrifying reality that Jill Dando's killer was still unknown.
The conviction cannot stand. We were back to zero.
The overturning devastated investigators who believed they had solved the crime. It also forced the police to confront the gaps in their original work. The case returned to square one, leaving the nation with more questions than answers. Meanwhile, new theories emerged, each more complex than the last. Detectives re-examined every detail. The bullet, the timing, the silent execution, the escape route. They consulted international experts and retested old samples with modern technology. Yet the crime scene remained stubbornly empty. Whoever killed Jill Dando had left almost no forensic signature behind. The team reconstructed Jill's final steps using new mapping technology, analyzing patterns missed in the original investigation. Still, no breakthrough emerged. The case began to resemble a ghost story, an execution in broad daylight with no eyewitnesses and no clear motive, carried out with chilling efficiency. New theories resurfaced. Some suggested a political motive. Others believed it was a contract killing ordered abroad. A few speculated the Crimewatch connection carried deeper consequences. Each idea had fragments of possibility, but none offered the full picture. The case remained suspended between fact and speculation. Investigators acknowledged something uncomfortable. Jill Dando's murder didn't resemble a spontaneous act. It looked strategic, rehearsed, and executed by someone who vanished flawlessly. Theories continued to thrive because the truth felt deliberately hidden, buried beneath layers of silence, precision, and unanswered questions. Decades later, Jill Dando's case remains one of Britain's greatest unsolved crimes. Her colleagues continue honoring her legacy through charity, journalism, and safety campaigns. Her death reshaped public understanding of vulnerability. Even celebrities beloved by millions were not untouched by hidden dangers. The unresolved nature of her murder keeps investigators, journalists, and true crime researchers searching for answers. Jill Dando's story endures not because of tragedy alone, but because of the unanswered questions. Her case symbolizes the fragility of safety and the haunting reality of a killer who walked away. Despite countless leads, theories, and investigations, Jill Dando's killer has never been identified. Her story remains frozen in time, a chilling reminder that even high-profile cases can slip through the cracks. The crime's precision, the silence surrounding it, and the lack of evidence create an unsettling ending. Yet her legacy lives on through the Jill Dando Institute of Security and Crime Science, dedicated to preventing violence and solving unsolved mysteries. Jill's life continues inspiring protection, research, and justice. Her story teaches that the pursuit of truth never ends, even when answers remain out of reach.